got you updated. This is Radio Imanzi News in English.
You are tuned to Radio Imanzi, broadcasting from Kigali. Here is the news in English, brought to you by Fiona Umogano. The headlines. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation says Rwanda has the right and capacity to respond if it continues to be provoked by the DRC. The first ever World Telecommunication and Development Conference to be held on the African continent will take place here in Rwanda from the 6th to the 16th of June. The World Health Organization says tobacco is one of the world's biggest polluters, from leaving mountains of waste to driving global warming. Welcome back. Now news in detail. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation says Rwanda has the right and capacity to respond if it continues to be provoked by the Democratic Republic of Congo. Dr. Biruta, who addressed the press after a meeting with diplomatic corps to brief them on the tensions between Rwanda and DRC, said the neighbor to the west, particularly the government forces FARDC, have been engaged in acts of provocation, including shelling the Rwanda territory and kidnapping 2 Rwanda Defense Force soldiers on patrol, but Kigali has refused to be drawn into the conflict. The minister said that currently Rwanda has no soldiers on Congolese soil, and if it was to do so, it would not send 2 junior officers to face the national army. He said that while Rwanda is not interested in war, it would not sit back and watch while being provoked. Dr. Biruta said that he discussed the situation, including provocations, with the diplomatic corps and informed them that Rwanda would not sit back amid continued actions of provocations. Dr. Biruta noted that DRC forces are fighting with elements of the Democratic Forces of the Liberation Rwanda, a terror group formed by elements who fled into DRC after the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, adding that UN peacekeeping force in DRC cannot claim to be unaware of the collaboration between FARDC and FDLA since they are on the ground with them. Minister Biruta said that the president of FDLA in DRC remains a thorn in the flesh of the 2 countries, as both the UN and DRC government have failed to act decisively against the group, which continues to sow the genocide ideology. Still on matters of genocide against the Tutsi, the Minister of National Unity and Civic Engagement, Chandamaseni Bizimana, has urged members of the Unity Club to take interest in the country's history, saying that it's their responsibility and it will boost their efforts of being torchbearers of national unity. He was speaking during a commemoration event that took place at Kigali Genocide Memorial. It was organized by the Unity Club in Rwanda, an organization that brings together current and former cabinet ministers and their spouses. The Minister of Unity and Civic Engagement noted that talking about the Rwandan history or making deep research about it should not be misinterpreted as holding grudges, but rather a quest to understand where the country came from and the need to sustain and protect unity of Rwandans. He delivered a dialogue titled "We Choose to Be One," where he explained how unity of Rwandans existed before colonialists came and how it was destroyed by genocide and how the country strives to build, sustain and protect it. Unity Club was founded on February 28, 1996 by Janet Kagame, the current First Lady of Rwanda. It brought together spouses of male and female cabinet members with the aim of promoting cohesion amongst themselves and work together to enhance unity and peace while contributing to the socio-economic development of the country that was emerging from the genocide against the Tutsi. The first ever World Telecommunication and Development Conference to be held on the African continent will take place here in Rwanda from the 6th to the 16th of June. The conference, which is returning on its 8th edition, will attract vast participants from across the globe, including 193 ITU member state countries, 900 private sector and academia members, over 500 youth ambassadors, 70 ICT ministers and corporate executives members, academia and United Nations agencies. The permanent secretary in the Ministry of ICT, Yves Iradukunda, says the key discussions will be on calling upon leaders across the globe to announce new resources, initiatives and programs that leave no one behind and connect everyone.
The WTDC conference is one of the main events of the International Telecommunication Union, which is one of the oldest organizations. The significance of this conference is really the fact that Rwanda is one among 193 member states of the ITU, and the conference focuses on the topics of telecommunication development, yet its 8th edition is taking place for the first time on the continent. So this is not just a Rwandan event, it's a global event, but particularly a topic of interest to Africa in particular. And Rwanda, having been investing significantly in technology and centering technology at economic and social development, and really taking a leadership role to bring along initiatives and programs, the WTDC will be an opportunity to position Rwanda, but also to drive the discussions around policy, projects and initiatives that can shape a better world through telecommunications. So the theme is connecting unconnected to achieve sustainable development. We believe Rwanda will have an opportunity to engage in significant discussions. We're expecting more than 1,300 delegates. And this is significant to the Kigali and the Rwandans for hosting those number of people. There will be policymakers, business leaders, captains in the industry of telecommunication. Therefore, we expect a lot of exchange from a business perspective. For businesses to be able to cut deals with these international delegates, but also for a position of Rwanda that has been hosting significant events as it affects business, as it affects tourism. But ultimately, the outcomes of the conference will be ones that are really shaping the telecommunication industry for the next 4 years. As much as many countries like Rwanda have invested significantly in infrastructure, there still are challenges that preventing for many people to access technology. Therefore, the key discussions, and in particular, one of the conference segments around Partner to Connect is really to call upon leaders from across the world to announce new resources, new initiatives, new programs to leave no one behind and connect all the population. And I think Rwanda has had its fair lessons when it comes to driving technology adoption. We've invested significantly in infrastructure, but a lot of efforts are being done to make sure there's more access to smart devices, digital literacy for the population, but also advanced skills for engineers and software developers that can design the right solutions to drive adoption. So I think it's the right platform for a global discussion. I believe that Rwanda will have a lot to share, but particularly opportunities for both the business community, young people that are driving innovation within our ecosystem, as well as women in leadership positions, particularly within the telecommunications sector. I call upon the Rwandan community, particularly the youth and the business community, to take full advantage of the WTDC conference. We will have several delegates in town, so it's an opportunity to engage for business and as well as really showcase what Rwanda has to offer in hospitality and culture. So I call upon the community to engage, particularly the youth. We will have a segment on the youth, the Global Connect Youth Summit, where 500 youth will travel to Rwanda to give their voice to the topic of telecommunication development. So this is very exciting, and I look forward to seeing many of the Rwandan youth at this important conference.
With the country gearing towards being Africa's sought-after ICT hub, the WTDC provides Rwanda an opportunity to showcase efforts and contributions towards the global telecommunications network or exceptional service delivery across different service and technology sectors to a fast, competitively captive global audience. Women farmers in Rusi's district have praised the government's plan to build daycare centers in the district so that they can leave their children while they go farming. These women who farm in the Bugarama Rice Valley say they used to leave their children on nearby hills when they went farming, but their children would wander off. So they now leave them in daycare centers where they are cared for. According to Ngirabatware James, Executive Secretary of the Muganza sector, local parents have come to understand the importance of placing their children in daycares. Because the children are cared for at the centers, it has helped them reduce incidences of child abuse, malnutrition and stunting. He stated that they intend to increase the number of these centers as there are currently only a few in the sector.
Some items of international news on Radio Imanzi.
The latest report by the World Health Organization says tobacco is one of the world's biggest polluters, from leaving mountains of waste to driving global warming. Tobacco comes across as a substance with a much greater threat, even more than what is widely known by many. The report, dubbed Tobacco Poisoning Our Planet, covers the impacts of the whole cycle, from the growth of plants to the manufacturing of tobacco products to consumption and waste. In the report released today to coincide with the World No Tobacco Day, the World Health Organization accused the tobacco industry of causing widespread deforestation, diverting badly needed land and water in poor countries away from food production, spewing out plastic and chemical waste, as well as emitting millions of tons of carbon dioxide. The World Health Organization found that the tobacco industry is responsible for the annual loss of 8 million human lives, 600 million trees, 200,000 hectares of land, 22 billion tons of water, and releases about 84 million tons of carbon dioxide into the Earth's atmosphere. The Tunisian Trade Union Centre UGTT announced today a nationwide public sector strike on June 16th to protest against soaring inflation and prevent the privatization of major state-owned companies. The announcement comes at a time when the country is wallowing in a deep economic crisis, and the government is counting on the support of the General Union of Tunisian Workers for the reform program it has submitted to the International Monetary Fund in the hope of obtaining new credit. In its statement, the union accused President Kais Saied of undermining the principles of negotiation and reneging on previous agreements, while the country is facing crazy and continuous price rises, with inflation at 7.5% in April over 1 year. Shanghai authorities say they will take major steps Wednesday toward reopening China's largest city after a 2-month COVID-19 lockdown that has set back the national economy and largely confined millions of people to their homes. The vice mayor announced that full bus and subway service will be restored on Wednesday, as will basic rail connections with the rest of China. Schools will partially reopen on a voluntary basis, and shopping malls, supermarkets, convenience stores and drug stores will reopen gradually at no more than 75% of their total capacity. Danish voters are said to choose whether to abandon the country's decision 30 years ago to opt out of the European Union's common defense policy. The Danish referendum comes on Wednesday as the latest example of European countries seeking closer defense links with allies in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. A United Nations report has said civilian deaths and rights abuses by Malian soldiers surged in the first quarter of 2022, but Bamako dismissed it as biased and unverified allegations aimed at tarnishing its army. While jihadists remain the biggest source of violence against civilians, there was an exponential rise in fatalities and other abuses linked to the armed forces supported by foreign military elements. According to the United Nations Multidimensional Integrated Stabilization Mission in Mali, the number of people killed in the first quarter of 2022 by all parties in the conflict, jihadists, militias, self-defense groups and security forces, quadrupled over the last 3 months of 2021, rising from 128 to 543. The report said 248 civilian deaths were attributable to the defense and security forces.
Economic news is a regular feature on Radio Imanzi.
Now the Rwanda Stock Exchange Market Report. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 44,939,500 Rwandan francs worth of bonds traded in 3 deals on the fixed income market, and 625,900 Rwandan francs from 4,500 shares traded in 4 deals on the equities market. Bank of Kigali closed the counter at 260 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 182,000 Rwandan francs from 700,000 shares traded in 1 deal. I&M Bank closed the counter at 43 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 55,900 Rwandan francs from 1,300 shares traded in 1 deal. Biruta closed the counter at 160 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded 388,000 Rwandan francs from 2,500 shares traded in 2 deals. Simerwa closed the counter at 120 Rwandan francs. MTN Rwanda at 178 Rwandan francs. Equity Bank at 440 Rwandan francs. Kenya Commercial Bank at 370 Rwandan francs. National Media Group at 1,200 Rwandan francs. Uchumi Supermarket at 104 Rwandan francs. And RH Buffalo closed the counter at 526 Rwandan francs as the market closed. The The currency market review of today. The Kenyan shilling buying price was 8.6 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 8.8. Tanzanian shilling buying price was 0.43 and the selling price was 0.44. Ugandan shilling buying price was 0.26 and the selling price was 0.27. Burundian franc buying price was 0.49 and the selling price was 0.5. The US dollar buying price was 1,012 and the selling price was 1,032. The British pound buying price was 1,276 and the selling price was 1,301. The euro buying price was 1,087 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,109 Rwandan francs. With that, we come to the end of tonight's edition.